In honor of International Non-Binary Peoples' Day, let's talk about one of the first non-binary figures in American history, the public universal friend. Welcome back to Yesterqueers. My name's Amanda, and I'm a public historian of queer history. Please note that I'll be using the friend's birth name and pronouns to describe their early life, and this is in accordance with their wishes. The public universal friend was born as Jemima Wilkinson on November 29, 1752, in Rhode Island. She was the eighth of 12 children born into a Quaker family. Quakers are members of the Religious Society of Friends, which is a Protestant group that was formed in England in the mid-1600s. They believe that all people are capable of forming a direct connection to the divine, and that God's revelations are ongoing and anyone could receive those messages. We don't know much about Jemima's early life. Her mother died when she was around 12. We know that she was an accomplished equestrian from an early age and an avid reader. Even as a child, Jemima could recite passages from the Bible or other Quaker texts from memory. In October of 1776, when Jemima Wilkinson was 23 years old, she got sick and nearly died of what was probably typhus. Actually, according to the public universal friend, Jemima did die, and, quote, "The spirit of life from God had descended to earth to warn a lost and guilty, perishing, dying world to flee from the wrath which is to come." The genderless spirit took over Jemima's body, and they were reborn as the public universal friend, which is a play on the Quaker term for traveling preachers, public friends. The friend did not answer to the name Jemima, ignoring those who tried to use it, and disavowed the concept of gender entirely, including the use of gendered pronouns. When asked about gender, the friend replied simply, "I am what I am." They took to dressing in a black religious robe that covered them from neck to wrist to feet, and they cut their hair to be short on top in the masculine style and curled in ringlets in the back in the feminine style. Yes, this may also be the first instance of the queer mullet in American history. The Quaker community of which Jemima had been a part did not believe this story and dismissed them, along with 5 of their siblings, from the community. So the friend, joined by their siblings and a small group of followers, became an itinerant preacher, traveling throughout the Northeast to preach what scholar Susan Juster calls a message of apocalyptic destruction. However, the friend also preached Quaker ideas, like the idea that anyone of any gender can form a direct connection to God, though they added that women in particular should listen to God rather than to men. The friend was also, like the Quakers, an abolitionist and demanded that their followers free anyone that they held in slavery. The public was fascinated by the friend, but not because of what they preached. You'd think a person claiming to be essentially the second coming of Christ with knowledge of a coming apocalypse would have more of an impact on religious belief in New England during the Revolutionary War. But instead, the public was focused on the way that the friend and their followers transgressed gender. Newspapers even speculated on the shape of the friend's body underneath their robe and what kind of undergarments they wore. There's a social aspect of the American Revolution that we don't talk about enough that was fueling this kind of vitriol. People weren't just reconsidering their ties to England. They were reconsidering everything from their faith to social structures to gender roles. To quote Juster again, the friend was a focal point for Republican anxieties about the precarious nature of civic and familiar bonds in a world of uncertain sexual boundaries. Sound familiar? In 1787, after a particularly harrowing experience in Philadelphia, the friend stopped traveling to preach. Eventually, the Society of Universal Friends retreated to an unsettled part of what is now western New York and formed a settlement that they called Jerusalem near Keuka Lake in 1789. After many years of declining health, the friend died on July 1st, 1819, at the age of 66. In accordance with their wishes, only a regular meeting was held, no funeral services, and their body was interred in a vault in the basement of their home. Several years later, also in accordance with the friend's wishes, their body was moved to an unmarked grave. That's it for today. As always, more information, including sources and further reading, is available in the usual place.